Welcome to the Mind Games podcast. Today, we have one of the most impressive up-and-coming journalists in rugby league. This guy's an absolute gentleman, and I was super impressed. Isaac Issa. Enjoy. Alrighty, Isaac Issa, mate, welcome to the Mind Games podcast. How are we doing?
Oh, man, I'm happy to be here. I've been excited to come in over the last few days. We've got a lot to talk about.
We do, mate. Very grateful for that. Had a bit of a last minute pull out, and you've come to save the day. So very grateful for that.
I've come in clutch.
You have come in clutch. And mate, like, to be fair, super excited to hear your story and actually chat about a few things too. And as a Bulldogs fan, I think you're a bit sad at the moment. One of your boys you had to break some news yesterday about, not break some news, but share some news yesterday about one of your boys wanted to leave the club. Can't blame him really, but talk us through, like, as a Bulldogs fan, having to I guess report on stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, thanks Dean Ritchie for breaking that news. I really appreciate it. No, it's probably gotten a little bit easier over time to report on my own team and kind of separate that emotion from what I got to do every day. So, but look, in saying that, I was quite disheartened yesterday when I saw the news that Bronson Xerri was set to request an immediate release. Now, Gus Gould, classic Gus Gould on Twitter or on X, has come out and said that's not true. But I guess that, remains to be seen. But yeah, no, it's tough to report on these things with my own club. But I feel like I've probably gotten a little bit more used to kind of sharing news or the more negative stuff about my club than maybe when I first started.
Yeah, cool. I suppose you've got a big junior base to draw on there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those guys all train out at Penrith.
Yeah. Oh boy, it's gonna be one of those, is it?
Oh, it's gold, mate. Talk us through, like, so you're obviously a journalist now. You worked for a few years at ABC and Zero Tackle, and recently you've secured a new role at ESPN. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Talk us through, like, early days. When did you want to be a journo? What happened?
Yeah, I know probably most people would be like, I grew up wanting to be a journalist, and I grew up wanting to be doing
Like
this
sports journalism.
Oh, well, yeah. Essentially, I didn't want to do any kind of journalism at all. I had no interest in doing media at all. The goal was to do fitness. After a couple of years of that, realised don't like this. Started my media and comms degree at uni. Still didn't know that I wanted to be a journalist when I started it. It was more so just kind of a wait and see kind of thing. And as things kind of kept rolling on, I started taking a little bit more of an interest in the sports media side of things. And once I officially decided, I probably decided maybe 2 years ago that I really wanted to do sports journalism, which is kind of
so short, like, when you think about it. 2
Yeah,
years ago.
Yeah. Well, in saying that, 2 years ago is when I decided I wanted to do it, and I probably got my first gig a little under a year and a half ago. So, it's something that's probably, hasn't been a lifelong dream or anything like that. But now that I'm doing it, I absolutely love it. And it's my passion. So
yeah, love it. And, like, I suppose when you look at it too, I think everyone as a kid, and I don't know this because I only just met you, but everyone wants to be a professional sports person or whatever. Growing up, you're watching your team, you're watching your favourite sport, whatever. I don't know if it was rugby league for you, but whatever it was, when you think about it and you look at, okay, like, potentially journos don't have the greatest, maybe, like, perception in externally, but when you look at the role and job they do, like, as we were talking about earlier, like, one of my good mates, Tom Deason, like, he lives the dream now. He travels to every Olympics. Yeah. He's always, every sporting event, he's off doing stuff. So, it's the next best thing, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I grew up playing footy. I probably played for about 10 years. In saying that, I wasn't very good. Yeah. I was a big front rower back in the day.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Big front rower growing up.
Yeah, right.
I know I don't look it.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, when I was playing footy, I did not watch footy at all. I had no interest in watching footy. I kind of just played it to play it.
So, like the rest of the Bulldogs, you started following last year?
See, I actually made an effort not to come in and say I go for the Bulldogs. I don't know how you got it out of me. But yeah, so I grew up not really, being interested until I, eventually had my career-ending injury and
what
stopped
was that?
playing. I had like a little minor fracture in my back. And,
Okay. Only in your back. Oh, yeah. Cool. I thought you were going to say with finger or something.
No. Yeah, mate, you're lucky I'm still not hobbling.
Yeah. Wheelchair.
I milked it for long enough.
Yeah.
And then once I kind of stopped playing footy is when I started watching footy.
Okay.
And then I found myself kind of, as we all do, maybe a little bit more than we should, spending so much time on social media, checking updates for our own teams and following fan pages and obviously news accounts and stuff. And then I started to really take an interest in the people who were breaking these stories.
Yep.
So yeah, it wasn't a traditional kind of, I guess growth into the passion, but we got there in the end. And, I absolutely love what I do. And it's if it wasn't my dream growing up, it's my dream now for sure.
Yeah, cool. And so you started studying journalism at Macquarie, marketing and comms at Macquarie.
Yeah.
Moved into, how did it come about getting a role at ABC and then also Zero Tackle?
Yeah. So,
Are they linked at all?
No, they're not linked.
Okay.
No. So, essentially, I guess in media, it's quite a tough industry to break into. It's not kind of your standard, you apply for a job online and just see how you go. So I did a lot of free work. I did volunteer work at, local radio stations and internships at magazines and stuff like that. Until eventually I kind of met the right people who liked what I was doing, liked the work I was doing. Again, worked for free for a long time. And my director got me a role at the ABC as an international producer.
So just to pause you there, is that the biggest advice you'd give to a young journo, kind of like wanting to do it?
Yes, absolutely. Don't just study a degree and expect to apply for a role. Okay. Media is one thing where who you are matters more than what you've got on a piece of paper. So it's very important to grind and take the free work, say yes to everything, get your face and your name out there, and eventually you turn the right heads. And that's essentially what happened. And I got that role at ABC doing international producing, those graveyard 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. shifts, doing the international news. And at the same time, I was sending out cover letters and pictures, sports pictures and stuff to maybe 30 or 40 different platforms, that everyone kind of checks their news on. And the only one who got back to me was Zero Tackle.
Yeah, right.
So shout out Zero Tackle for believing in me.
Shout out.
And so I started both roles at the same time. I think it would have been November 2024. And again, it was just a lot of interning and a lot of, working for free and till we eventually got to where we are today. And
How long did that take? About a year though?
Of interning.
Yeah.
Well, I interned at Zero Tackle until I interned there for about 10 months.
Okay.
ABC was a paid role, but realistically, it wasn't what I wanted to do anyways in terms of the space. Obviously, amazing, network, but international news isn't my niche. So yeah, look, it took a lot of free work and a lot of interning and kind of doing weird hours and stuff. But look, it all kind of works out in the end. But it's the reason why a lot of people don't fully break into the industry, because unfortunately it is a lot of who you know and kind of stuff like that. So it is important to make that effort to go that extra step, and eventually, we kind of got to where we are today.
Yeah, cool. So was there a point where you figured out like I have a natural way of storytelling or something like that? Or
look, I say I never kind of wanted to be a journalist growing up, but I always did enjoy writing, and I did enjoy telling stories in school. I always enjoyed kind of manipulating words and stories to kind of shape what I'm thinking or, kind of how I view things. And I always really enjoyed doing that, whether it was, even growing up, I would, write books and stories at home for no one to read, just out of, so I always really enjoyed wriing.
Didn't want to be a journo, but you're writing stories.
I didn't want to be a journo. I didn't want to be a journo. I didn't know that these were the stepping stones. But I did always enjoy telling stories. So, and now, when I write a story, I know a lot of different people in the media would have a lot of different passions, and some would be being on TV, some would, be doing podcasts. So I love writing. Yep. So I love kind of telling stories and looking at a finished product and kind of seeing that story come to life, whether it's news or it's a long form kind of editorial thing. That's something that I really enjoy, and I always enjoyed that growing up as well.
Yeah, cool. So from that sort of point, did you have any like really good mentors or something that have taught you a lot that you can sort of shout out or you can tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, Zero Tackle was the first place that kind of took a chance on me and brought me in. And my editor over there, Scott Pride, who's he's kind of been an editor there for a little while now, and he took me under his wing and really kind of showed me the ropes and how things worked. And so realistically, I wouldn't be here without him. And kind of looking at a broader landscape, one journo that's kind of really made an effort to kind of guide me and give me advice and teach me a few things is Michael Carianis as well.
Oh, cool.
He's been a real big one for me. So, look, those two are probably, the ones that have made a real big effort for me. But again, now that I've kind of gotten to the point that I am, so much more to go. But, now other kind of well-known journalists are making that effort to give me that advice and steer me in the right direction, which I'm honestly so blessed that I even have that opportunity to chat to these guys, let alone get advice.
That's awesome. And like, we'll get to this part in a little bit, but do you think that you would be getting these opportunities at such a fast rate had you not, I guess, tapped into the new media in terms of like the social media side of things?
No chance at all. No. Social media, me starting that page was, the best thing that I did.
Yeah, cool. So then, fortunately, like just 6 weeks ago, I said I only noticed this yesterday when I was quickly looking at you, like scrambling, trying to put together a bit of a run sheet.
Yeah.
You got an opportunity to go to ESPN.
Yep.
Which do you think that opportunity comes about if it wasn't for the social media?
Absolutely not. So,
yeah, cool.
I've made a real big point of social media. Look, I'm 23 years old, so social media is something that I've obviously grown up for majority of my life. Back in the days of filters and in 2012 on Instagram, I was one of the first to get it, and I've made a real.
Was that when modeling was the option?
Oh yeah. And so I've made a real big point of that's kind of the direction that media is going into now, whether we like it or not. TV ratings are starting to go down a little bit. Obviously, people buying papers is going down and stuff, and not to diminish what those kind of platforms do at all, but it's because social media is really taking over entire media, and it's something that I think was not tapped into enough from a news standpoint alone, and so me making that effort to kind of build on that, and to be honest, when I first started the page, that wasn't the goal to kind of get to where we are now.
Okay, what was the goal?
To use that as simply as a portfolio for my work.
Yeah, right.
So it was never meant to be this. Eventually kind of just started picking up traction and I started putting a little bit more effort into it. But yeah, no, the ESPN opportunity definitely wouldn't have come through. They found me through my social media. Yep. So, the kind of boon that I've gotten from that is that, we built a really cool audience that I can now bring with me to different platforms. And it's like we built like a little community. Not a lot of journalists are as kind of, tapped into, footy fans or fans of the sport and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people really appreciate that. And so they kind of have lent me their loyalty. So I've brought them along with me to ESPN and ESPN loved that. So it definitely wouldn't have come about without my socials, for sure.
Full hats off to you. Like that's what you've sort of done there. Definitely a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of, I guess, where the sort of journalism is at the moment. A lot of them have built their profiles off being off TV and different things like that, where you've sort of done it the other way around, so chicken or egg kind of thing. But mate, full credit to you for that. I think it's awesome. And I suppose like to think about it and go, I actually work full time for ESPN as a journalist. It has to be pretty pinch me.
Yeah, it's when I first got
it's a global business.
Well, for ESPN to kind of be interested in Isaac is just absolutely wild to me. And the trust that they put in me is, it definitely was a pinch me moment. And kind of walking into those offices the first time is just it blew me away, really. But again, like it's something that, every step of this journey has been a pinch me. It hasn't been like realistically, when I put my first article out for Zero Tackle, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm writing about rugby league. You know what I mean? So, and now this year, a ton more opportunities have come off the back of ESPN, and a lot more kind of access to different media opportunities and stuff. So no, it's been a wild ride, and like you said, it hasn't been a very long one. So to kind of go from like 2 years ago, I was working at a dog groomer. So it's a very different landscape for me now, and I'm honestly, I'm just so blessed, and I'm grateful that, you know, all the people along the way have kind of taken that chance on me. Even, you know, like opportunities like today to have, you know, people like yourself kind of take that opportunity and want to chat to me and stuff like that. So I definitely don't take any of it for granted.
Mate, sure. I love it. There's probably my next point. You just sort of mentioned that how sort of TV ratings are down a little bit, how newspapers are kind of a little bit of an outdated. Like, people still get the paper delivered to their house and stuff, but they're definitely more consuming their news on their phone and things like that. Which
is just natural progression as well. Like,
for sure. But if something's printed in a newspaper and it's wrong, like it's kind of thrown out, it's tomorrow's fish and chip paper, right? On the internet, it's there forever. Yes. Talk me through, like, there's certain journos, I'm not going to name anyone, but like certain journos who have got stuff wrong in the past and, you know, whatever. Talk me through that little piece. Like, has there been something that's been well wrong, or have you had any sort of learning curves in that respect?
Absolutely. Probably not a good thing to say, but I do feel a sense of relief when I do see other journos get things wrong. Because at least I know that, you know, it does happen sometimes. Now, look, I don't get things. I'm very hesitant when I do break news.
Is it like jumping the gun? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Or is it like...
It's jumping the gun.
And did you have to take some learning curves in that?
Absolutely. Cool. I have jumped the gun before, and I've been wrong. Probably a little bit earlier. Look, and when I get things wrong now, it's more so not me getting things wrong. It's reporting someone else's work that's been wrong. So there is a difference. But there have been times where I've kind of broken exclusive news and I've just jumped the gun too soon and haven't done my due diligence. And that was probably a little bit earlier into kind of...
Was there anything major, or was it just like a debut or something?
I don't think there's been anything too drastic. I don't think there have been bits of mail and stuff that people think are wrong, but bear with me. My stories take time to develop. But yeah, look, nothing too major. And look, if I'm being honest with you now, I'm extremely hesitant now, and I do sit on a lot of news and a lot of stories that I don't break. And that's kind of just maturing as a journalist, because if you were to give me the stories I've got now 6 months ago, or a year ago, I probably would have just been trigger happy. So but that's learning lessons from the people around me, and obviously from my own mistakes as well. But you do get somewhat of a dopamine hit when you do break that news. And when I first started, I was so excited by it. So yeah, no, I've definitely kind of learned to cool it a little bit now, especially off the back of seeing the backlash that some journos get as well.
For sure.
Because like you said, in media, like, you know, it's there forever. So I'd rather cool it and save my reputation than jump the gun and lose it.
For sure. Well, that's what. So obviously, as I said, one of my good mates is Tom Deason.
Yeah.
And chief sports writer at Sydney Morning Herald. If you haven't watched his podcast, go watch. I think it was episode 6 or 7.
Yeah, he's killing. Oh no, let's wrap it up.
But he was. So I'll get back to being serious. He was talking about, so like he was talking more so about Michael Chammas and Andrew Webster, so two of his. I guess colleagues, but guys that have sort of helped him throughout his sort of journey. And he's sort of, the biggest takeaway he had is how many phone calls they make before they write a story. He said, like, if I told you the number, you wouldn't believe it. Like, it's an astronomical amount of like phone calls and fact checking and all this sort of stuff that goes into it that we don't see as consumers of the news. So has that number increased?
Yes. So originally, look, I used to, when I first started, I'd go to my, because at the end of the day, I am still a journo coming through. So I've always got to report to my editors. And originally it was one phone call. Cool. Let me go to my editor and tell them. Right. And they'd say, no, we're not public. And so that's something that I really had to learn. And now, that number's gone up a lot. But look, in saying that as well, that number only goes up with experience and networking. So
that's what I was about to say. It's probably more so the relationships you've built as well to be able to make those phone calls. Because if you start calling random agents or whatever,
they're not going to pick up.
Exactly.
They're not going to pick up. And that's why I am very careful with what I do put out. Like I'll get stories about players whose agents I don't have relationships with. So realistically, I can't do anything with that story. And so I can make an attempt, but 9 times out of 10 it's not going to work. So the network that I've got of whether it's player agents, whether it's club officials, whether it's just inside sources or close relations has grown drastically since I started. And that is probably, and I'm sure if you ask any journalist, I'll probably say the same thing. It's the biggest part of the job, networking and having that network of kind of sources and people to trust, because without that, realistically, you're not really going to get too far.
Well, that's what, so Tom sort of said his first year, he wasn't really a massive rugby union fan,
right?
But he got hired to cover the Waratahs, essentially, for Sydney Morning Herald. And his thing was, I'm going to be at training every single day. So every single day he was at Waratahs training.
Yes.
And so his way of building relationships with the players, with the agents, with the club officials, everything like that, is they seen this bloke show up every single day for 12 months or whatever it was. And then he was able to sort of build those relationships, to gain that trust, to sort of, build those building blocks from there. And that was how he went about it. I'd like to know how someone who's been thrown so quickly into the scene, because the 12 months is not, or 24 months or whatever it's been, is not a big, long period of time. How have you gone about it? Like, intentionally, how have you gone about it? Because obviously things happen. Like, you become mates with people. Yeah. But what's your intent to build those relationships?
Yeah, look, it's probably twofold. So one is similar to what you just said. Every day I'm at team training, media. Yep. So, I might be at Dragons in the morning in Wollongong, and then Panthers, in Penrith a few hours later. Constantly making an effort to get to wherever I can get myself to. Now, again, I'm not Superman, but I do try my best. And I do try my best to build those relationships. And it's something that really I want to kind of make the people in the industry know that, I am here, I am around, and I'm here to stay, essentially. So that is, similar to Tom, that I kind of have taken that route. But also making an effort to reach out to, I've made an effort to reach out to every kind of source or agency or that I can reach out to, go out for coffees, go out for lunches, just make that effort to go that next step, because especially for myself, who kind of, I have done a lot of this. Well, I've done all of this on my own, realistically. I've never been given sources. I've never been given, I didn't do a cadetship at a massive organization. So everything that I've done so far has been on my own in terms of networking. Obviously learned tons of lessons from the people above me, but in terms of networking and stuff, I've done it all on my own. So I made a real effort to reach out to people, go for coffees, do all the networking stuff. And it's something that I still try to do all the time. And it has paid dividends, because, luckily for me, I've built some really nice relationships with people who I probably wouldn't have otherwise. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Asking from a fan's point of view, do you get spun many fake yarns from people, like agents or whatever?
Not from agents. Okay. I haven't been fed false information from agents.
Or like altered truth?
Look, every player agent wants to sell their player at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And they want to hype them up. So an agent will give you a story. It's up to you how you tell that story. And it comes back to what I love doing, which is writing and telling stories. Yeah. So there's definitely things I hold on or I pull back on a little bit. Every agent, but to be fair, the good agents do sell their players. It's their role, realistically. Yeah. I haven't been fed anything false from an agent, because I think that does burn a bridge on both ends. Because at the end of the day, it's a two-way street.
For sure.
But have I been fed false information in general? Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, from agents, it's more so exaggeration than plain lies. So
yeah, okay, got ya. How do you, if you get fed false information in general, is this just on social media or something, or is it actually people in the know? Like intentionally giving you fake stuff? No.
So a lot of the time it's people who are, closely tied or,
they have an agenda.
Yeah.
So how do you approach that then when you figure out that it's false?
Look, it's a matter of kind of just pulling back on that source, realistically. I don't like to burn bridges. I don't like to, at the end of the day, we're all making an effort. And, if something's just not aligning with the way that I want to go about things, it's just a matter of pulling back more so than kind of confronting it head on. So, I talk to so many people in the day and in the week and stuff like that. Pulling back sometimes when the intention isn't pure is something that I've just kind of learned to do. And look, luckily for me, it doesn't happen very often. It's only happened a couple times. But it's just being kind of, I guess, switched on enough to identify those things and then make an effort to just kind of pull back, once it does come up. But again, it doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I guess there's the other part of it, which is like the adrenaline rush, I'm guessing, and the as you sort of described earlier, dopamine hit of breaking that like key, unbelievable story. Like, is there one that stands out, and can you explain that adrenaline rush and what is it like?
Yeah. My biggest one was Keon to the Dragons. That was
Bang.
That was huge. That was crazy. I remember I was getting told it was on Boxing Day when I put that story out, and I was getting information for probably 2 to 3 days before, just from different places, blah blah blah, and then I got the call, and it was Boxing Day, so it was Christmas the day before. I was not in work mode, but I get a phone call and essentially the source said, put this out. It's done. And I put it out. Oh, it's actually, no, I called my editor. At the time I was at Zero Tackle. I called my editor and he didn't answer. I messaged him, answer me now.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, shit. And quickly comes on and he goes, what's going on? And I told him and he goes, are you sure? I said, I'm sure. He goes, all right, mate, get it out. And so I got it out. I think 20 minutes later, the Daily Telegraph got it out. So I just beat the Daily Telegraph. So thank you, Scott, for answering the phone. It was unreal. It was an amazing feeling. The biggest scoop of my career so far. Hopefully not for too long. But yeah, definitely the biggest scoop. And it was an amazing feeling. I felt kind of proud of myself as well, because it was coming to the end of my first real year of doing journalism, and even then it hadn't been a full year. So it was a real cool feeling, and it was something that I almost became addicted to, because I was like, I want to do this again. Yep. I want to break these stories. And it's funny because now I kind of look at it, maybe a couple months later, we had the Payne Haas to Souths news drop. And I believe it was Michael Carianis who broke that story. And in my head, all I'm thinking is, wow, that must have been a cool feeling for him. Do you know what I mean? So, you become like, it's such an adrenaline rush. But again, if it goes the wrong way, it's adrenaline in the wrong way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So that's my next question. Is there any that you've potentially maybe had enough info on, but didn't pull the trigger because you probably weren't quite there, and then someone else broke it?
Yeah.
You don't have to tell which one it is if you don't want.
It's okay. It's been announced. So.
Yeah.
Talakai to Perth.
Yeah.
Was one that I had a couple of days before.
And what, you just sat on it just in case?
So just in case.
Okay.
I sat on it just in case. Because I didn't reach the number of confirmations that I wanted. So again, 6 to 8 months ago, I would have just broken
pulled the trigger. Yeah.
And look, sometimes you miss out on these things, and there have been others as well that probably aren't coming to my head right now. But yeah, there are times and you're like, oh man, I could have gotten that. But it's sometimes you got to be better safe than sorry.
You obviously have an editor and different things, but Tom sort of said that he actually gets more angry at he's missed stuff before because he's very hesitant and doesn't want to sort of break that wrong thing. But he'll actually get more angry if there's like something spelt wrong or worded wrong in the article. Talk us through your attention to detail there, or like anal.
It's one of those things I don't like, and maybe I'm such a grammar nerd. I don't like typos and in general, like I don't like to see it anywhere, let alone in my own work. So when I do see myself making a mistake, I'm like, that's completely unprofessional from me. So it's something that, and it's probably something that realistically 95% of people are just going to gloss over. But no, for me, it irks me. And and I think it would be the same for most writers. And most there's different types of journalists. There's journalists who really enjoy writing, and there's journalists who really enjoy just news. There are a lot of journalists that the ones who break these stories don't actually enjoy writing. So for them, it's probably not as big a deal because they got the news out anyways.
Yeah.
Which is probably better, to be honest. Then you have journalists who just really enjoy writing and probably just talk too much anyways or write too much anyways. It really does irk me when I do get a little mistake like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Mate, in terms of like, as we sort of mentioned, you've got a big social media presence now, and it's one of the fastest growing probably in the space, probably you and JC really. How do you, there's obviously a ton of online backlash that comes with that.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? How intentionally?
So at first I really struggled with it. I just couldn't understand why anyone would have anything bad to say about news.
Yeah.
Like I was just like it's not my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just news.
Do you do many opinion pieces?
No.
Okay.
I try not to.
Okay.
I don't love to. I have done a lot in the past, but realistically, I probably don't do it as much anymore. I'm purely just kind of.
Will that something you'll go into in the future or not?
Look,
really?
I'm always happy to. I do kind of sprinkle them in here and there. I've been doing quite like a few more with ESPN now.
Yeah.
But it's not my main goal is to do news. I don't like giving my opinion on things. As in work. If you talk to me off camera, I'll give you my opinion on why the Dogs are going to win the premiership. But
I'll tell you what, I wish Flaxy wouldn't give his opinion on things.
But yeah, no, I really did struggle with the idea of people attacking me personally. And I did get some personal attacks, and I didn't really know how to handle it. Now I've kind of just got this thing where it's like, if it's on social media, it's my page. So sorry, you're blocked.
Yeah, okay.
Or delete it. Or
yeah.
Unless it's constructive criticism. There's a big difference between personal attacks and constructive criticism. I'm one who actually really enjoys getting feedback. I've had people reach out and say, hey, this is wrong, or like or this is spelt wrong, or this is, you know what I mean? And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it. But personal attacks, I'm not even here for it, to be honest.
Sorry, this is a little bit off topic, but have you had any players reach out and go, this news is wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Obviously don't say who, but like talk us through the scenario as much as you can.
The funny thing is, it's happened a few times. The funny thing is, the first time it happened was when my page probably had about 40 followers.
What?
Like, I don't even know how this player even found it.
Yeah, right.
And he messaged me, and it would have been like February last year, like March. Like, it would have been a year ago from today. Like, I would have had like 50 followers. And he DM'd me, and I was like, oh my God, like this. And like, I'm not going to say who, but this is an Origin player.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, how does this player even know who I am? And funnily enough, it wasn't even my story. Again, I was just reporting on someone else's story. And the story was true. Like, it was completely true.
Yeah.
And that was wild to me. It's happened a couple times since then. And again, that's something I really appreciate. And for the most part, you build a nice relationship with these people as well, and these players. And so then in future, when news kind of gets out, I can message that player and cross-check it. So like, for example, it came out a couple of weeks ago, and I'm happy to say this because I did end up reporting it. Just little things like Jaden Campbell, I think he did his hammy or something like that.
Yeah.
And the news came out that he might be out for 4 weeks or whatever. And then I shot him a message. He goes, nah, man, like I'll be back round 3, I'm pretty sure. So, and he goes, it's literally just a little niggle. Like, I'll be back round 3. I said, okay, you happy for me to report on it? You guys go for it. And so that's,
Are you allowed to quote him?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Because realistically, so it's I think it was a 2 to 4 week, and it ended up being, I think, like a week and a half or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
So those are situations where, I can, but I make sure that everything is in writing. So like, I feel comfortable saying that today because he said that it's, I'm cool to say it. So it's, you do get things wrong sometimes and players will call you out, but it also does build some cool relationships. And that's another side of things that I guess through social media, I've made a real effort to build relationships with players as well, that I probably wouldn't be able to get the chance to otherwise in person.
Absolutely.
So.
Love it. Mate, in terms of like preparing for, and I know there probably hasn't been too many big events so far, but like say Vegas, for example,
Right.
but in the future, like end of the year, you've got the Rugby League World Cup. You know, going forward, there's going to be a million different things.
Yeah.
Origin this year, things like that. These big events. Is there something you intentionally work on to help yourself prepare mentally? Is it additional fitness or whatever? I'm just making things up.
Yeah.
Is there something you intentionally do there, or you just head down, let's go?
It's just head down, let's go, to be honest. It's not,
That'll change.
it's, what's that?
That'll change when you get a bit older.
Oh, mate. Well, right at the moment, I do have I've got the speed in me to just kind of push through it. And, you know, like, for example, State of Origin last year was a big one. It's just late nights and stuff like that, you know, doing match reports and stuff like that. I don't know how this year's going to look. I'm a lot more on field, like, you know, and on site than I was last year. And I'm a lot more out in the field. So ask me in 12 months will probably be a different answer. But, you know, for the most part, it's just kind of me put my head down, get to work, and just kind of take it as it comes. But yeah, look, I expect things to change as well because I am a lot more out in the field than I used to be, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Is it so? Are you the only rugby league person on ESPN, or is there a few?
No, there's a couple of us.
Yeah, okay.
There's a couple of us. So I'm a subcontractor at ESPN. So I'm a contributor. So I essentially bring stories to ESPN, and then we have a couple kind of regular things that we do every week as well.
Okay.
And then there's a couple others over there as well. But look, with ESPN, so the reason, and kind of going back to that, is the reason they brought me in is because obviously ESPN's a global brand, probably the biggest sports brand in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but in saying that, they don't have that leverage in NRL specifically. That's why they brought me in, and that's how they pitched it to me, and kind of said, you know, they trust me to help them kind of really build into that space. And honestly, I can see ESPN really just becoming huge in NRL because it's already got that name. It just needs the exposure.
Yep.
You know, like, for the most part, if you were to go to people and tell them about this company or that company, you know, they probably wouldn't know too much about it. But in relation to rugby league, they would. It's kind of the opposite thing with ESPN. So that's kind of why they brought me in. And we've got a couple others over there as well. And I'm really excited to see what ESPN can kind of do in the space over the next few years.
Mate, so am I.
Yeah,
so
I think it's going to be real cool.
And obviously with the game wanting to go global too, I think, and wanting to grow to a wider audience, I actually think the NRL will lean into that a little bit.
I think so.
They probably won't announce they will, but I think they'll definitely lean into having that sort
It'd be a smart play, to be honest. Like, look, at the end of the day, everyone knows ESPN. Like, my grandmother knows ESPN. She doesn't even watch footy, so or sport. So it's definitely a cool opportunity for the space, and I think it blends in well with kind of what I'm trying to do on the other side of things, and we could see a real new era of kind of sports media in Australia.
For sure. So obviously your audience is like all rugby league at the moment. If opportunities came up with ESPN to go NBA or NFL or something like that, would that be something you'd look at in the future or not really?
Look, if I'm being honest, obviously I work in rugby league, but my favorite sport is NBA, not NRL.
So you want, that's the goal.
Well,
stretch target.
if you want to send me to, but at the same time,
who do you support?
Who do I? I'm a 76ers fan.
So you just want to send me to Philly. Let
me
me cover the process.
No, but in saying NBA is my favorite sport, I wouldn't go away from rugby league.
Okay.
So if you want to send me to an NBA game to cover it here and there, absolutely. But my goal is, so I've actually been asked, you know, not by ESPN, by kind of other parties, would you be willing to drop rugby league from your name and just do? And I said no, because I think that I can either have my hand in a few hats or I can be the best at what I do in one sport. So my goal is to eventually become, you know, number one in rugby league. Yeah. You know, you look at other sports, you look at NBA, they've got, you know, Shams, you know, soccer's got Fabrizio, these journalists who are just 95% of news goes through them. That is something that I aspire to. And that's why I do a lot of, you know, I obviously do a lot of exclusives. I also do a lot of news aggregation and have my platform and my brand be, you know, your number one source for news in general. And so, yeah, I while I love NBA and I, you know, probably it's my favorite sport, and it's my dream to go watch an NBA game. I probably would never shy away from or move away from rugby league, because I think that if I stretch myself too thin across multiple sports, I'm just going to kind of stay at this level where I want to be here. So that's kind of my mindset going into it at the moment.
I love it. With that, off the back of it, is there any sort of mindset routines or non-negotiables that you sort of have with yourself?
Outside of work?
Outside of work.
Look, I as things have gotten busier, you know, I have made a real, like, for example, I have to go to the gym. I can't not go to the gym. And I found myself becoming a little bit more tired at the end of the day. And, do I want to train today? That's a non-negotiable. Obviously, you know, making sure a non-negotiable for me is honestly staying humble as well and grounded and both, you know, in life, in my faith, you know, in, you know, kind of everything. And just at the end of the day, like, we're all just people on this earth, and I'm just lucky I get to do what I do. But, you know, it's important not to go too far in the direction of, I guess, you know, boosting up my ego or anything like that, and being grateful for everything that I do have. And so staying grounded, staying humble, and just kind of, yes, continuing to work on myself as well, whether that's the gym, whether that's, you know, my work or my craft or whatever, just making sure I'm never kind of becoming complacent and kind of ego driven. So
absolutely love it, mate. That's awesome. That is great. I want to touch a little bit more on the social media side of things.
For sure.
So about a year ago, or just over a year ago, you just mentioned you started a Instagram page.
Yes.
Was it Isaac Issa? It's actually at what? What is it?
It's Isaac Issa _
I'm sure everyone already follows it, but in essentially the space of 12 months, you've grown it to 7,500 followers. Probably by the end of this season, you'll be pushing 50. What was the intention of starting that page? We touched it on off air, but what's the intention of starting that page? And then how has that evolved?
Yeah, so when I originally started the page, you know, and you'll know because Isaac Issa Journalist is not a catchy name. It's become a little bit more well-known now, but realistically, Isaac Issa Journalist was not meant to be my rugby league guru, my bloke in a bar. It was just my name and my job. And I started that page as a portfolio for businesses, companies, you know, people in the industry to kind of see, oh, this guy works for Zero Tackle. He does some stuff with ABC. You know, maybe we could chat to him about a role. That was all it was meant to be. And as I kind of continued growing, like I probably got to about 70 followers, which probably 65 of them were just my friends and family and my mum's cousins and, you know, and I started kind of making a bit more of an effort. I was like, you know what, I kind of don't mind doing this. I was only kind of posting the stuff that I did for Zero Tackle. I was like, let me just do news in general for a little while. Let me just see how that goes and blah, blah, blah. And it started doing well. And then it started doing really well. And I found myself pumping out 12 to 15 posts a day. And getting excited about doing designs and stuff. You know, I was like, I do it all. Like, yeah, I make all my designs and do it all by myself. And I started getting, you know, a little bit of traction and blah, blah, blah. And then I decided, okay, what can I do next? What can I build off this? And that's when you start seeing these kind of consistent things now, but these things, you know, that came up that I started making an effort to do, whether it was, you know, consistent designs or reels, you know, I made a big effort of not to show my face at first. I didn't want, and my biggest thing at the start was that I don't want to be a well-known journalist. I just want to be behind the scenes.
Okay. Has that changed?
Completely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But when I first started, that's why my logo has never been my face. Even now, I've got a new one, but it's still not my face. Just to stay true to the reason I did start it, which wasn't to become anything. But yeah, so
you sort of saw the value in creating that personal brand as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. You know, when I realized that, I noticed that people really started connecting when I started showing my face a little bit more. Cool. When I started doing reels and stuff, which was...
Mate, look how good you look.
Mate, don't start.
Can you blame him?
Don't start, mate. Oh, you're going to make me blush. Yeah, and I started noticing people really felt a connection. And not only that, there's so many kind-hearted people in this industry and in the community and stuff who feel a connection to me now, which was always weird to me because I just kind of do news and stuff like that. But so many kind people kind of reached out since I started showing my face, and showing who I am a little bit more. And so that was also something that really, I was like, I've got kind of a responsibility now to maintain this brand and staying true to who I am and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, and then it started to pick up traction. I think we hit 10,000 followers in October. So October last year.
Far out.
And it was just, and realistically.
Out of interest, though, you said 10, 15 posts a day. How many posts was it roughly when you got 10K, you reckon?
As in
Like
on my
many,
page?
Yeah, how many did you put up, you reckon? 1,000? More?
Yeah. Oh, probably a bit less than 1,000.
okay.
But yeah, between 900 to 1,000. It wouldn't have been, because I'm probably on like 1,400 now.
Okay.
So, but realistically, I only started consistently posting May or June. So I started the page in February, but I probably had 200 followers by May.
Far out.
So it's yeah.
That's crazy.
It was but it's I don't think it's just because of me. I think it was just an untapped niche that people were really just hungry for kind of the work that I'm doing. And you know, I'm glad that I have been able to provide it. But realistically, just it's footy fans, just like it's there's such a good community of people who just, they care so much about this sport. And I feel like sometimes it can be neglected. Like obviously now we've got podcasts and stuff and you know, blah, 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 but to kind of share their thoughts and connect with, you know, someone in the industry, they haven't really gotten that opportunity. So it's, as much as, you know, I'm glad that I did it, at the same time, it's a credit to kind of what a, you know, diehard fan base of rugby league fans we've got as well.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy. Like it's, sorry, I'll let you keep going on that, but like it's a game essentially played in 2 states.
Yes, absolutely.
Like eastern seaboard of Australia is Queensland, New South Wales.
And and it's funny because you wouldn't realize it as well. Like I'll get messages from people overseas and they're like, I thought, what the hell? Like I didn't even, did you know what rugby league is? And they're like, oh, I love your page, blah, blah, blah. I'm following from France. I'm following from Africa. I'm following, like, that's crazy to me. And it's awesome. And that's why, and kind of, I'm going to go off topic a little bit, but, you know, we see Peter V'landys and he's making such an effort to grow the game. And I know a lot of people kind of, you know, bag on him and stuff, but I love it because it actually is such an untapped area of rugby league that's just been left in the dark for so long. I think the sport's going to be in such a good place in the next 10 to 20 years.
He doesn't miss very often, old PVL. Does not miss. So, like, obviously, as I said, you're more on the forefront of like that new school media, new school journalist type.
Yeah.
How... What's the next evolutions look like? Is it shows on ESPN? Is it like how does that sort of look for you? Yeah,
so I've again when I first started, like I said, I had no interest in even showing my face. I just wanted to write. I just wanted to tell stories. You know, the next kind of steps are to eventually get a little bit more into the podcasting side of things. You know, make more of an effort if TV opportunities come up. Radio as well is something that is kind of being floated at the moment. A lot of things are in talks at the moment, and I'd recommend if you do kind of follow with what I do and stuff like that,
sure.
Stay tuned because there is kind of going to be some new stuff coming out from me on a few fronts. But look, at the end of the day, my goal, my number one goal is to be the number one newsbreaker eventually. Whether that's in 10, 20 years, 30 years, that is the goal. You know, and I would trade it all in to do that realistically. I want to be the one breaking the news. I want to be the one.
I think they go hand in hand though, right?
Absolutely, they do. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
You need to be that media presence. You need to be kind of... People need to know who you are, let alone, like, realistically, there could be a guy with 5 followers on Instagram who breaks that, you know, Nathan Cleary's gone to the Bulldogs. And no one's going to believe him. You know what I mean? Because he's got 5 followers, and who is this guy? You know what I mean? So it does go hand in hand. And that's why I'm trying to build that foundation so we eventually get there. And realistically, I wouldn't have any of these contacts or anything without, you know, So, yeah, it definitely goes hand in hand, but that is the goal.
Yeah, cool. So, and the reason I asked this is because very early on in the piece, I don't know exactly when, but you followed me and, like, I obviously followed you straight back, but, like, sorry, not me, the podcast I meant. You followed the podcast and we sort of connected there. Are you making a conscious effort to sort of support and have that abundance mindset across... I guess NRL creators and stuff as well? I'm not necessarily an NRL creator, but like creators in the space?
Funnily enough, not
Or
really.
you're just a big fan of the podcast?
Mate, I just no. Look, honestly, I'm very selective. Not even from a pretentious point of view, but selective with the people I connect with and stuff like that, because I think that there's some people do some really cool things, and some people just kind of rehash old ideas and stuff like that. And so I kind of am excited by, people like, whether it's like yourself or a lot of the other kind of, whether it's creators, podcasts, who are kind of making an effort to make, to have a different spin on things. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really exciting, and I think that's really cool. So when I kind of connect with people through my brand or my kind of socials and stuff like that, it's less to do with kind of building a pool, and more so just like acknowledging,
Game recognized game.
Game recognized game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best way to go about it, because I think if you go in the other direction, you end up just, you put your stamp on things that probably don't deserve the stamp, or probably haven't earned it yet, or something like that. So that's kind of the direction I go, and I think that a lot of places kind of work the same. Like, for example, like I'll bring up a brand like Bloke in a Bar, which is arguably the biggest
industry leader.
Yeah.
Buy around.
In the bar. Jimmy, get me on.
Hey, we can make that happen.
We see that, I saw that, Bloke in a Bar did see my stuff for a while, but, I didn't get a follow or anything, which is completely fine. And eventually I think that I made enough noise that, Bloke in a Bar did, make that effort to,
Awesome.
Do you know what I mean? And so, such a minor thing, a follow on Instagram, but
I know. Well, it's funny, like, I actually vividly remember when you followed me.
Right, okay.
And so, but not for any reason, and not for like any. I just remember seeing it. It was very early on in the piece as well.
Absolutely.
So grateful for that. But like, just seeing that but yeah, I know exactly.
That's what, and I think it's because once you start giving a stamp out to everything, that's when it almost starts to become meaningless. And it's also like it's not just with recognition and acknowledgement of other people. Like, even with news, like if I put out every single little bit of news that Jai Gray stubbed his toe and he's going to be out for about 5 minutes.
Friend of the podcast, Jai Gray.
That's why he was on my mind.
Yeah. He's my guy. I love Jai Gray.
Oh, mate, he's killing it. Yeah. He's absolutely killing it. I'm even happy to talk about him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people are going to be like, okay, so you just post everything, don't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's being selective with everything I do and doing everything with intention.
Cool. So do you think that is what separates, and obviously it's subjective, but like what separates the good and the bad journalist, or the good and the great journalist, is reporting on relevant news as opposed to reporting on everything?
Yeah, I think that, look, from what I know, and this isn't from, I guess, my own experience, because I can't, I guess, diminish what other journalists do, because I'm still fairly fresh in the space. But from talking to people in the industry and stuff, there is somewhat of an understanding that if you're the type of person in media who just puts out anything and just exaggerates and makes it this big thing, it almost does start to make your stuff a little bit watered down a little bit. And that's something that I've kind of been, I've been pulled up on it before. I'm not going to say who, but I'll say this star is set to move clubs and he is barely playing first grade. Like, so it's stuff like that where it's like,
yeah, you see though, and they're behind paywalls and stuff. Yeah. And it'll be like, whatever, like superstar,
and it's not.
Superstar leaving club, and it'll be like, I'm not going to say someone, but it'll be someone who's played 5 NRL games. Yeah.
And so that's something that and so it does, you become,
but like they'll have a photo of Nathan Cleary.
Smart. Yeah. I like, no, it's actually, I have been guilty. What did I do? I think I said Fasu Malayawi set to join the Bears, and I had a photo of Tino and his brother.
That's so good.
And I was like, if my editor messaged me when he put it out, he was like, "Are you serious?" And
hey, you're not lying.
I'm not lying. But look, you do that enough, and you start to build a reputation.
Yeah,
so
agree.
It's that was one of my most viewed articles ever.
Yeah, okay.
That did so well.
That's funny.
But it almost does kind of cheapen your work and stuff like that. So I make an effort not to do that too often.
With that, you just mentioned the most viewed article. Do you spend much time in the data?
No, not as much now. When I was at Zero Tackle, I did.
Okay.
Because I kind of had a little bit more. I had a little bit more to do with the process. Whereas now, as a contributor, I literally just write it up and send it through.
Okay. So there's no KPI around it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Cool.
So it's just I write up and I send it through as a contributor. But when I was at Zero Tackle, I had a lot more to do with the behind the scenes kind of stuff. So, and you know, the CMS and stuff. So yeah, no, it is a little bit different for me now.
Yeah,
sure.
cool. We sort of touched on it a little bit, but is there a story or interview that kind of changed something, maybe good or bad?
Yeah. Well, look, obviously, like I said, the Keon one was my biggest one, but it probably wasn't.
Wasn't a life changer, or was it?
It was the biggest for me personally. But I think probably the biggest interview I did, or sorry, the most impactful interview I did was probably, like Jamie Soward. He made an effort to have a chat with me, and
Another friend of the pod.
For another friend of the pod. And I don't know if this next one is as well, but like Shane Flanagan as well. Is he a friend of the pod?
Not yet.
Not yet.
He might be.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those are interviews where these are influential figures in the game who took a chance on me and allowed me to kind of make that effort.
That's great.
But I guess the most impactful one was it would have been 8 to 10 months ago. It was my first exclusive bit of news. It was the first time an agent ever reached out to me and gave me a story, and it was around it was a pathway story. I think it was the Pupuali'i twins from Penrith going to Dragons. So nothing huge. They're both real good players though, so I'm going to keep an eye on. But having that was my first one, and they reached out to me via Instagram. Funnily enough.
Wow.
So that was my first.
Hey, imagine in 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
Imagine telling an agent, imagine telling Gavin Orr. I can say, no, Gav. So imagine telling Gavin Orr you're going to reach out to journos via Instagram.
Well, that's essentially every agent reaches out to me through Instagram.
It's crazy.
Actually, I mean, essentially, they all do.
Yeah,
they all reach out to me through Instagram. And we all have our chats through Instagram. So, and then eventually you exchange numbers and blah, blah, blah. But it's all through Instagram. And that's kind of the whole, I guess, it's the whole point of why I'm doing this, because people they don't realize that social media is where media is going. It's not a novelty anymore.
Yeah.
It's a genuine networking marketplace.
Absolutely.
And it's it's expanding into something that if you don't kind of tap into it now, you're going to be left in the dust, essentially.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Even my perception on it's changed so this is episode 27. So this is 6 months and 1 day.
Yep.
And one episode, right?
Right.
And when I first started the podcast, obviously I collab with all my personal stuff as well to sort of grow them together.
Absolutely.
Initially, I was like, I just want my personal network to see the podcast stuff.
Right.
Now, as that's starting to grow a little bit, and it's absolutely nowhere near where any of yours is, but I'm seeing that grow. My personal one's starting to grow a little bit as well.
Absolutely.
And I'm starting to see the value in that. So
Yes.
I'm getting more people wanting to speak to Mitch as opposed to the Mind Games.
Absolutely.
And I'd rather them speak to the Mind Games, but there's a value in growing them both and growing my own personal brand as well a little bit. So initially I was like, I'll get the Mind Games to be bigger than my personal one, then I'll just park that account and get rid of it. Now I'm starting to see the value in growing them both.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We sort of talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think that's something that, look, obviously I've got my name in my brand and stuff like that, but I do kind of, me outside of work versus me in work are two very different people, two extremely different people. I've made an effort to keep it that way.
Yep.
I am outside of my work. I am a private person, and that's something that's. Well, that was the goal, and now I feel it blending in a little bit, which is something that I'm just trying to get used to now. Being out in public and someone recognizing me is
it's weird.
I don't know how to, you know what I mean? So, I've had people come up to me and I don't know how to respond to that, because we're both just I'll be at the gym and someone comes up to me. I'm like, we're both just two people at the gym training, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this person feels a connection to me because they've been seeing me on their phone every day. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and that's where I was like, okay, so this is now starting to blend a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't fully decided how I feel about that yet.
Okay.
It's something that I'm still learning. Again, it's been a very quick turnaround. So,
It's good that they're coming up to you about good things because, like, imagine what buzz cops at the cafe and stuff.
Oh, mate.
Like, that's just an example. And sorry to throw a stray at Buzz, but
Mate,
like,
I think Buzz is used to it.
yeah. But imagine, like, as I mean, like, you're getting it in a good way.
Yeah.
Imagine what he's copying when he just goes and has a coffee.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why. And look, and tapping into that, it's the exact reason I don't give opinions.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't go too hard on anyone, and I don't plan to at any point be someone who goes hard on people. You know, it's. I guess like when you're someone like Buzz who is so respected in the industry and so big, I guess you can either you get away with it or you don't, but you kind of enjoy it anyways. I have no intention of being a controversial, like I just want to report news. I want to be the best at reporting news, but that's kind of where that line ends. I don't have any ambition to be a TV personality or like a personality. I have, my intention is to be news. That's my goal. I don't want to be like, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a personality who, did you see what Isaac said? Can you believe? Like, I'm not interested in that.
So, but if ESPN came to you and said, we want you to do a weekly news show on
I'd be
NRL.
happy to do stuff. Like, and I'm more than happy to do shows and radio and blah, blah, blah. More than happy to. But
you're more reporting news as opposed to giving opinion.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to.
I love that.
And if I do give my opinion, it's based off facts and it's
You know what, as well,
respectful.
just getting to know you a little bit here, this very much, I don't even know if this is intentional, but that very much ties back in what you said earlier around you wanting to stay grounded, stay humble, things like that. That is well and truly not getting ahead of yourself. So that's well and truly sort of knowing your place, even though you know, like, you know, the following you've built, the platform that you're building, and the groundwork that you're putting in, you're staying in your lane and you're not trying to get too big for your boots and trying to. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Was that intentional, or do you think you just just?
I think that you can become too, I guess, too big for your boots, and you'll crash out. You'll absolutely crash out. And I'm very outspoken outside of work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very outspoken. And, you know, my friends and family know that sometimes I just won't shut up about, you know, certain things. And,
I love it.
You know what I mean? But when it comes to work, you know, at the end of the day, this is, like you said, on social media or just media in general, like, it's there forever.
Yeah.
I don't need clip-ups of me, you know, bashing on someone and, you know, having this huge, you know what I mean? Like, it's, and not only that, it doesn't align with my values either. At the end of the day, I'm not someone like, someone says something negative about me, it hurts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. These people are human beings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and if I start getting in this mindset of I'm this, I'm that, blah, 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 I will stray away from that. You know what I mean? So it's making an effort to obviously adapt. Like, things are different to what they were a year ago for me. And I do need to adapt to that, and handle things a little bit differently and act a different way in certain aspects. But not to the point where it's, you know, I am trying to. I know a lot of people in the media try to make things about them. At the end of the day, my job is to make things about other people. That is my job. You know, it's, you know, if I were to break the Payne Haas news, it's not Isaac broke the Payne Haas news. It's, did you see the Payne Haas news? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my mindset going into it. So I intentionally, I really do try to make an effort to retain that.
Cool. Is there, so tell me, like, obviously rugby league is a game built on controversies, essentially. Yes. What's the line, and not necessarily the line, like you report on news. So there's the fact that you're reporting on something that could be bad, let's say something that's bad. So something that's bad that's happened. What is how do you react to, say, if a player sort of sprayed you about something that, you know, you reported something bad that happened to him or her, and then they've sort of come back to you. It's like about being the story being factually correct, or is it trying to, like, save face a little bit for the player? Like, talk me through that line.
There's definitely a line. Yeah.
Do you know what I was asking?
No, there's definitely a line. And there are certain stories I won't report on.
Okay.
I don't report on legal stuff at all. You know, I don't report anything, you know, any ex-NRL players caught up in police matters I don't report on. It's just, I don't personally, I don't care. So
Yeah.
I don't.
It's interesting because they're the easy ones to.
They're very easy,
Yeah.
and they generate clicks.
Yeah.
They do really well. I don't do that stuff. I don't. Any allegations and stuff. There's a line. So, for example, if you've got a player who's done X, Y, and Z, I don't report on it unless the NRL is investigating. If the NRL is investigating, then the story is that the NRL are investigating this player, not this player did this. Staying respectful at all times. At the end of the day, people make mistakes, and there's a million things that we do in our lives every day that we get away with because we're not in the spotlight. Do you know what I mean? These players, they'll do something that probably 90% of other people are doing, but they're in the spotlight. You know what I mean? So it's about being respectful. It's about understanding these people. They're just people at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, if I think something's just gone too far in a certain direction, I don't put it out. There's no need for it. My job is rugby league. My bread and butter is transfers and debuts and injuries, and it's not legal matters and things to make people look bad. Do you know what I mean? So and look, in saying that, like sometimes things will come out about players, and if I'm lucky enough to have a relationship with their agent, I'll reach out to them first, say, do you want me to, is there anything else you want to provide on this before I get it out? I've got no interest in breaking news like that or being first on news like that. It doesn't interest me at all.
I love the way your moral compass goes. I love how aligned it is. Mate, super impressed.
Well, look, the goal is to maintain that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Where do you see, I guess, the industry and potentially yourself sort of going over the next 5 years, and how do you plan to, once again, intentionally kind of navigate that?
Absolutely. Look, it keeps changing, to be honest.
Yeah,
in
5
my
years. I
mind.
could probably say 5 months. But
yeah.
But yeah, 5 years.
It keeps changing. Look, at the end of the day, I've got my one big goal. I really do see the industry tapping a little bit more into, I guess, shifting away from the old media methods. And like, for example, an example I use, I think it's like content creator like Hectic Fred, for example, and
Another
I think
friend of the pod.
Yep. And I think the K Roos brothers as well, and there's a couple who have signed with KO.
Yep.
Tell a content creator 5 years ago that you're going to be signing with a major network, and they would have been like, yeah, right. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I can see a world where Hectic Fred's a character on the Matty John show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, and look, I think one thing that I have noticed, and this isn't bashing anyone, but especially rugby league, because obviously, and that's my niche. So rugby league, we've just keep getting former players on stuff, and that's all well and good for maybe 80%, but 20% probably don't need to be on there, and they're there for their name. And I think that there's
they're just there for cash.
Well, yeah, and credit
Not
to
'cause
them,
it's their passion.
Yeah, and absolutely. But there are people in media, and I'm not even saying me. Like there are actual, like genuinely, like funny people, or people who are just charismatic and so well spoken, who are just like they would do so well on these shows.
Yeah.
Like Yvonne Sampson, for example, is someone who is just an amazing presenter and so well spoken. Everyone loves her.
For sure.
Do you know what I mean? And
who else is really good, but he's only just sort of breaking into the scene. Hemi Goodwin.
Mate, he's terrific.
Yeah.
He's absolutely terrific.
Yeah,
I love
he's
listening to him
hilarious.
speak.
He's
And
so
he's
funny.
someone who like I've had conversations with people in the past about how many people should be on one podcast and at the same time, and is there too many voices and blah blah blah. And we've spoken about Bloke and blah blah blah, and I say Bloke doesn't obviously need Hammy, but the comedic relief that he brings is so refreshing.
Yeah, it is.
I love it, and he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's so funny. You need people like that, and like Fletch and Hindy, but obviously former players, but they're great characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
James Graham,
Best.
amazing.
Justin Horro.
Yeah, amazing. Do you know what I mean? But there are people who are really talented and just great people to listen to, who probably aren't getting those opportunities. I think they will over the next 5 years, and I think that we're going to see.
It's starting to happen. Like literally, how this podcast started.
Yeah.
So I'm good mates with Justin Horro. Play golf with him every Sunday. He randomly rang me on like a Monday, and I thought it was going to be about something about golf on the weekend. He couldn't make it or whatever. And I answered, and he's like, mate, I got an opportunity. We're filming a Levels fan bunker. I want you to come on and be a Penrith fan before Vegas last year. And I was like, mate, no one wants to hear me talk about rugby league. Like, nah. And he goes, like, you chew my ear off about rugby league every
might
week.
as well.
Like, you're coming in. So, all right, I'll do it. Did the first episode. He goes, mate, you knocked that out of the park. You were easy, the best one on there. I want you to do the second one. So the other two didn't get another go. I jumped on the second one. Met Hectic Fred that day, and Fred was like, "Where are you posting all your content?" I'm like, "I haven't posted on Instagram in about 4 years." And then he was like, "Oh, jump on our podcast," and I jumped on his a couple of times, and kind of just built it out from there. And he was kind of going like, "Start doing stuff." Kind of thought like, "What's my sort of point of difference?" I played a reasonable level of cricket, so I have a lot of contacts there. I have a lot of contacts in the NRL space because I lived with a couple of the Roosters players when I was younger, and just kind of like was like, "Okay, what's my point of difference?" I obviously work a corporate job as well, so that's how I kind of built out the idea of this. And then it's kind of just snowballed and evolved from there. But what the biggest takeaway I sort of saw of it was how, and something that I'm very grateful for is how much everyone's keen to help. So, like, I floated the idea with Hoz, and it was at this stage, I was still probably 50-50. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Showed him the deck I built, and he's like, "Mate, you're doing it 100%. Tell me when." He goes, "If you want me to jump on, I'm there. If you need help getting people on, let me know." And I was just like, "Oh, fuck, it's real now."
Yeah.
And then I sort of told my best mate, who's a buyer's agent, and he's really well spoken and a super impressive human. And he was like, "Yep, sweet. I'm the first episode. When are we doing it? Tell me the date." And I'm like, "Fuck, okay, now I have to do this."
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and then I like mentioned it to Tom Starling, and he's like, "Yeah, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
I got the buy in 2 weeks. Let's do it then." And I'm like, "Oh no."
Now I've got to commit now.
Yeah. So unfortunately, guys, you can blame them for this show, but super grateful for everyone.
Absolutely, and and I think that's where success comes from. There's two factors: is you're good at what you do, and people are willing to help. At the end of the day, you need both to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think, exactly what you said. We're starting to see people want to help a little bit more.
Yeah.
And put that effort into and invest in people as well. And invest is a real strong one because people want the next up. We've kind of seen the same people over and over and over again. The tides are changing now, and
For sure.
I think that and at the end of the day, good people stick around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Cream rises at the top.
Absolutely. And so I think, and that's what kind of excites me and pushes me to want to be a part of that as well. So, I'm really excited to see where media is going over the next few years. And I'm really hoping I can be, a big factor, part of it.
I have no doubt in my mind you'll absolutely be there.
Thank you, man.
Mate, once again, super grateful for this. Got 3 quick questions. 16-year-old Isaac walks through the door. What are you telling him?
Maybe pay a little bit more attention in school. Stop messing around and just relax a little bit. You got some cool stuff coming. Stop trying to rush things. And I was 16-year-old me was very frantic and not real, no attention span whatsoever. I just get him to lock in a little bit more and just stay patient for what's to come.
Mate, love it. What's your go-to cheat meal?
Oh, anything chocolate.
Anything
chocolate.
What's your brand?
Oh, it depends. It depends what mood I'm in. Like, I don't mind some old gold.
Yeah.
I like some old gold. But you can't really go wrong with Cadbury, can you?
No, you can't. I think they're.
But I do anything chocolate, to be honest.
Love it. Do you play any golf?
I do. Oh, okay. I've played it before. I'm not very good.
Okay. So, with golf, you're playing a foursome.
Right.
So, dead or alive, you and 3 others.
Yeah.
Your dream golf foursome can be anyone.
Do they have to be good at golf?
No.
Okay.
It's just 3 guys you want to spend 4 hours with. Sorry, guys or male or female.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's get James Graham. Let's get him in there.
Love it.
I need a fellow dogs.
Dragons legend.
Oh, well, you just dropped out of my list, mate.
Yeah, funny story on that. So after I got the opportunity with Levels, I actually got an opportunity in here, and that's how we kind of ended up in the buy round.
Yeah.
So I was on as a Penrith fan. Jimmy was sitting here, I was sitting right there. And I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but I basically called James Graham a bandwagon Dogs fan. Clearly a joke, everybody, but clearly a joke. But yeah, he loved it. He
Poor
thought it was
Jimmy.
hilarious. No, he loved it.
Oh, mate. Well, mate, we'll be chatting about that at golf, me and James.
Yeah.
Look, if we're going to keep the same trend, we'll keep it kind of media-ish because we want everyone to kind of get along.
They can be dead or alive too, can be anyone.
Dead or alive. You know what? I know Michael Jordan doesn't mind some golf. Let's get Michael Jordan in there.
Love that.
We'll get MJ in there. And we will get the greatest rugby league player of all time. We'll get Jonathan Thurston in there as well.
Mate, love it. Love it. Mate, this is, I've really enjoyed this. Super grateful, especially on such short notice.
That's okay.
Super impressed, mate. You're an absolute gentleman. Can't wait to see what you achieve in the future. And, mate, Isaac Issa, everybody. Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers.